What's up, freaks? This is just me, and today we're gonna be ranking the 8 mandatory poses of Shawn Rhoden from worst to best. And we're gonna be considering the poses throughout the bodybuilder's whole career. So, a pose that was strong at the start but fell off in later years is not gonna place as high in this video. Alright, let's introduce Shawn very quickly. He is a one-time Mr. Olympia. In 2018, he dethroned Phil Heath, which is obviously no easy feat. He's a highly aesthetic bodybuilder for this day and age, especially, and it's too bad that he's already missed 2 chances to defend his title. Anyway, let's get right into the countdown of all the poses. The worst mandatory pose, in my opinion, is the Backlash Spread. I don't think Shawn looks horrible in this pose or anything, but he's just a bit underwhelming. The lower body is not bad. The glutes and hams have really got very nice details to them most of the time, of course, but Shawn's lats aren't his strong point and they don't look that wide, and the traps and lower back, even though not bad, they don't really compensate for the lack of width. Overall, this pose is very lackluster. I feel like nothing stands out and it really doesn't work very well because most bodybuilders Shawn would be competing against would be wider or at least show more detail in the back. So I consider this the weakest pose of Flexatron. The second weakest pose has to be the side triceps, and it's largely just due to the weak triceps horseshoe development compared to the rest of the body, because the rest of the body looks very good. The side leg of Shawn Rhoden looks glorious, as always. The glute and quads have awesome details. The midsection is in check, generally speaking, washboard abs, and the chest and shoulders don't look bad, but the triceps is definitely not anything to write home about. The tricep development is surely a weak point of Shawn Rhoden's physique, and it looks very, very lackluster in the side triceps. The execution is alright, but this pose still has to be second to last. Then the sixth best pose, in my opinion, is the rear double biceps. As I already said in the last spread, the back is not Shawn's strongest point either, and although the legs look good from the rear, it's still not enough. I think this pose doesn't look bad because Shawn still has a trim waist and a nice V-taper, his delts look pretty good, and the traps look actually impressive if you ask me. But the lats are not developed enough to challenge the best of all time in this pose. The arms at the start of Shawn's career looked great, as you can see in these 3 photos, but as you're gonna see later, in 2018 they began looking quite undersized and not really very impressive, so I gotta dog him for this inconsistency. That being said, still not a bad pose though. Shawn looks decent enough to beat most bodybuilders, of course. The fifth best pose is the most muscular. I gotta say, Shawn looks good when he hits the most muscular no matter what. He always looks very nice and aesthetic. But the most muscular has basically always been suited to the mass monsters with huge arms and delts, which is definitely not how you would describe Shawn Rhoden's physique. Don't get me wrong, the triceps and biceps look respectable, at least in the former years of 2018, which you can see on the right. And the delts, in my opinion, good. And we all know about Shawn Rhoden's midsection and lower body, right? But overall, he's not dominant enough in the most muscular. I consider the front lat spread the fourth best position for Flexatron Rhoden. True, as I mentioned before, his wings are not particularly mind-blowingly developed and they're not balloonish, but they look decent in this pose. And the reason I like the front lat spread of Shawn is his X frame, of course. The lats flaring out the tiny waist and the sweeping quads. They create a nice X frame which looks really impressive. There's a caveat about this pose, and that's actually the abs, which are supposed to be his strong point, but to my eyes, they don't look very pleasing. But still, it's not a distension, so it doesn't matter that much. Shawn's execution is also pretty good, in my opinion. We go to the third best pose. In my opinion, it has to be the side chest. I love the way he hits this pose. He does a really good job displaying the cuts and definition of the side leg as well as his chest too. The pecs look pretty full, and sometimes Shawn even shows a bit of a split between the upper and lower pecs. And everything is in perfect balance, even the delt, and for the most part also the arms look really good. And we can't forget about the lower body, which is the best of all time, probably. Moving on to the runner-up mandatory, goes to the front double biceps. Shawn's front double is very aesthetic. The silhouette looks like Shawn Rhoden could be a statue in this pose. The statue probably couldn't improve much upon this. The lower body looks very good as usual, the abs of course too. The V-taper is great, and if we talk about the biceps, it is true there's of course the decline of the development of the body part. At one point, as I keep mentioning, we can see that on the right, but just look at how great the pose looked prior to Shawn's Olympia winning version. The arms are actually pretty much a strong point for him. They're massive on the left. So true, in 2018 not as impressive, but I think the other years make up for it, at least as I see it. You might like another pose more, but I reckon this front double is just too iconic to ignore. And as you probably expected, the ab and thigh tops the list. This is a great pose, especially for the era Flexatron competes in, when the midsection often doesn't look good. Basically, the only flaw I can see is the little tiny bulge in the lower abdomen, which you can see again mainly on the right, but it's barely visible. Anything else is amazing. The execution couldn't be better. The V-taper is really nice, the abs are nicely shaped and well separated and cut, and the quadriceps look big and very sliced. A great pose, no doubt, because he's well suited for it. This could very well be one of the best ab and thighs in history of bodybuilding, possibly the best, if you can believe that, because that's a great accomplishment in the 2010s. So guys, let me know down in the comment section below how you would reorder this video. What do you think personally about this topic? I would love to know your opinion as well, because knowing my own opinion is not really that helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to watch some Shawn Rhoden videos and also like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.